Good afternoon. I'm Eric Robinson with the Ronald Reagan Republican Club of West Ada County. We're here today with Steve Bartlett, Sheriff of Ada County. He was on our schedule in July, in August to speak with us, and unfortunately we had to cancel the August meeting because of the restrictions. And so we've asked him to come out and give us a few thoughts and comments so that you guys can get to know him, know what's important to him and the department, and know what's important to Ada County. So, Steve, welcome. We're glad to have you here.
Thank you so much, Eric. I appreciate it.
We probably, most of our listeners would like to get to know you a little better. I mean, you're running for re-election. We all know that. We love it. But it would be nice to get to know you better, some of your experience, work experience, career things you've done, and so forth. So can you give us a quick briefing on that?
I would love to. I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to meet in person as well in August. I was really looking forward to getting together at the park and sharing a little bit about our experience. There's so much happening in Ada County right now, and it's always wonderful to get a chance to sit down with our citizens, our taxpayers, and discuss what's really going on here. And so I'm happy to do that today. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Oh, you're more than welcome.
I get the opportunity to be the 38th sheriff in Ada County's history. In December, on December 22nd, Ada County, the sheriff's office, will turn 156 years old. And so when you start and you think down through that, we've got such a huge heritage and reputation as being a great sheriff's office. And that comes on the backs of a lot of great people that have committed their lives to law enforcement and this great county. And so I get to share a little bit about that today and what we're doing. And so I moved to Idaho in 1997. I started my career as a dispatcher with the Payette County Sheriff's Office.
Wow.
What a great experience. I loved being a dispatcher. You talk about that first responder, right? When you answer that 911 call, I share that with our current dispatchers here in Ada County. Things are a lot different now as they were back then. And so I worked for about 3 years with Payette County. I started as a dispatcher, as I said. I then promoted and went into the jail and worked as a jail detention deputy. And then I was selected to go out onto the road and work as a patrol deputy. Had a great opportunity to do a lot of things, but my favorite memory working for Payette was I was able to start a canine program. And
nice.
So I worked as a canine handler and a patrol deputy. And over the years, I was coming over here to Ada County and training with Garden City Police and Boise Police, the Sheriff's Office deputies twice a week. And during that training, the now Garden City Police Chief, but then patrol officer, was asking me, "You're over here all the time. Why don't you come over and apply for the Garden City Police Department and work here?" And so I took that under strong consideration, and a couple of years later, I applied with the Garden City Police, was hired, worked as a patrol officer for them, and then eventually a couple of years later, I was promoted and worked as a major crimes detective for them.
And when did you move over to the county?
Yeah, so in March of 2003, I applied with Ada County, the Sheriff's Office, and was hired and have been with the Sheriff's Office now for just over 17 years.
Wow.
I've had a lot of opportunity to do a lot of things, but I was hired as a patrol deputy. Eventually I tested for the rank of sergeant, was promoted to that. Spent a lot of my time at the Sheriff's Office in major crimes. So any of our person crimes that are committed, I felt a natural connection to that where you're dealing with and providing a service for those most vulnerable people in our county. And so Eventually, I promoted to lieutenant. I took over as the chief of police in our contract city of Eagle, which is all Ada County Sheriff's deputies that work in that.
And we love you guys.
Yes, thank you. We get the absolute privilege to do that in 3 contract cities. So the city of Star, the city of Eagle, and the city of Kuna.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's a huge advantage to those cities. It's a great savings to their taxpayers at such a reduced cost, and we're able to provide a much wider depth of experience and services to those cities.
I can only imagine the contribution countywide work brings to a small city.
Right.
Yeah, that's got to be a big deal.
A good example of that, although just a heartbreaking, sad story, is a couple of weeks ago where we had a young 2-year-old child go missing at one of our Eagle residents.
Rory.
I
looked 3 days for that little guy.
Hundreds and
all
hundreds of volunteers. But the benefit to contract policing for our cities is right now we have about 20 officers, deputies that are assigned to the city of Eagle contract. But on that day, there were hundreds of officers and deputies from around the county that came in, not only on that day, but every day they showed up. Thanks so much to our surrounding cities. The city of Boise gave us 12 of their school resource officers because school had not gone into session.
Wow.
They gave us 12 officers to help us hand search that community, and we're entirely grateful for our partners, that our sister agencies that come together. But that's a great example of contract policing at its best.
And that's a significant benefit that I didn't know about. I thought it was just the Eagle guys that were there.
Right.
But you're telling me a lot of people came from other agencies, Ada from Boise. I mean, that's a big deal. You know, that was a terrible ending to a story. We were all so disappointed. But please go back and thank everybody for the work they did. That was unbelievable. And it had to work hard on you guys. I can't imagine what you guys went through looking for that little boy.
It's devastating, and our hearts and thoughts and prayers go out to the family, they go out to the community, because this is why we live in Eagle. It's why we live in Ada County. It's why I've chosen to raise my family in Ada County. Mm-hmm. It's because of that relationship. It's because we do a really good job of making sure that we are hiring the right deputies for the job, but we could not do this job without the community and that relationship. You look across the nation right now, and law enforcement and community relations are completely strained. But I'm happy to say that in Ada County, when we drive down the street and we show up at a call for service, our reputation, the reputation of the Ada County Sheriff's Office and how they do work is displayed every day through the relationships and conversations that we have with our community.
You know, you say that. I'm going to change the subject a little bit, but how can our community be more involved with you? Is it neighborhood watch programs? Is it ride-alongs with you guys? How can we connect and partner with you guys better than we're doing even today?
Yeah, Eric, thanks for that question. Partnership is what it's all about. For us, when we talk about, we only have so many tax dollars that we can spend on hiring deputies. And we can't be every place at all times. And so we rely on our citizens. We rely on neighborhood watch community groups. We rely on community events. We rely on our phone calls, because when our communities are out walking around their neighborhoods. They see things, they hear things. And if one of the things that I would ask people is, if you see something or you hear something, say something.
Yeah.
Right? That motto was out there during 9/11, and we really came together as a community and as a country to figure out how we can do our best to make sure that really bad things don't happen to good people. You see that after tragedy. But my encouragement to our community is we need to be doing that during the good times, not just the bad times. We need to be looking out for our neighbors. We need to have relationships with our neighbors to know when they go on vacation. Hey, I'll get your mail. Hey, don't worry about your lights. Your driveway has a bunch of snow in it. Thank goodness not a whole lot here in Ada County, but I'll take care of your paper and I'll take care of your snow shoveling while you're gone, so that we as a community know our neighbors and know what's going on. We know what shouldn't be going on as well. Huge red flags when a moving van pulls up to your neighbor's house, but your neighbor just talked to you yesterday and you know nothing about them moving. That's probably a good indication that your neighbor is being burglarized. And so what can our community do? Get involved. Come to our neighborhood watch meetings. Start a meeting. And then if you see something, say something. It goes a long ways.
Well, that's great. I'm going to add just a little bit. Just about 5 months ago, we had one of our neighborhood board meetings, our HOA board meeting. We started a neighborhood watch program, so
great.
we're in your program already. What are the big issues impacting Ada County right now? What are besides the obvious ones, the protests that we had, and some of the arguments and things going on downtown? What are the big issues that are hitting Ada County right now as far as security and law enforcement and so forth?
Yeah, so I would tell you the biggest issue that we're facing right now is growth. Population is booming in Ada County, and you can't blame them. People that live in other states, when they look at the top places to live, Ada County keeps making the top 10 lists time and time and time again.
I know. I almost wish they'd forget we're here.
Well, I don't know. I share on a regular basis the people that are moving from California, and you see a map where it says route to Idaho, and you see the route goes around the bottom of Idaho and it goes over to Iowa.
Yeah, I've seen that before.
But for the same reasons that you and I and our families live here, everybody else wants to live here. And so the biggest challenge and the biggest thing that we're facing is growth. Population is booming. If depending on the chart that you look at, all of them would at least say we're over 10% a year. Some of them much, much higher than that, whether you're talking about our cities or our unincorporated county. All of those areas are growing. And so the big challenge for us is, how do we keep up with that growth? How do we pay for that growth? How do we provide emergency services to areas where our infrastructure has not kept up with our growth? Whether we're talking about schools, we're talking about roadways. The big one for us is, how do we get emergency services, fire, EMS, and law enforcement to your house in the fastest way possible when our roads are so congested and our drivers they want to get out of the way, but there's no shoulders on our roadways for them to even pull over to the side of the road and make way for our law enforcement vehicles to get to your house when you call 911. So when I say a big challenge for law enforcement is growth, making sure that we are establishing the infrastructure to get emergency services to where they need to be. Because one of the things that I feel strongly about, just now almost 3 years ago, we opened our new emergency dispatch center. And as your sheriff, I feel strongly that every time you call 911, the phone should work.
Yeah, that's what we hope for.
You shouldn't get a busy signal or a dial tone or can you please hold, which happens sometimes in large-scale events. However, equally as important as the phone's working and the radio's working is being able to get the right services to you. And as we navigate those growth challenges, we work every day with our county commissioners to make sure that we're appropriating enough dollars to public safety. I talk about my role as Ada County Sheriff. What is it? Well, by state statute and under law of the Constitution, my primary role is public safety. Not a task that we take lightly, and one that every one of our now 760 employees at the Sheriff's Office
I was going to ask you that.
Come to work every day trying to make sure that we can deliver public safety at the highest level so that we can save lives and make sure that you and I have the safest community in the country to raise our families in. That's our goal. And so as we navigate that with our county commissioners, in all of our discussions that are out there, there's a lot of talk of defunding the police, cutting sheriff's office budgets, and reducing the resources that we have at our disposal in the law enforcement world. And my challenge to our county commissioners is, let's never fall into that trap. Now, we always need to be absolute great stewards of our money. We work for the Ada County taxpayers, and we need to be accountable 100% to every dollar that comes into our coffers, how we spend it and what it's being used for. And if there's ever a day that we can't answer that question and be accountable and transparent to the people, we're doing something wrong. And that's one of my big missions as your Ada County Sheriff. Every year we report out to the people to tell them what it is that we need and why, but we also bring that full circle and tell people what it is that we did with the money and how their tax dollars were spent.
Is that an annual report of some sort?
It is.
Is that on your website? Where would we get a hold of that?
It is. It's in a couple of places. We report out at the annual Ada County budget presentation to our county commissioners. We also put that on our Ada County Sheriff's Office website. And you can go to adasheriff.org and view all of our information at any time.
That's beautiful. So there you go. You heard it from the man, adasheriff.org. It's all on there. Check them out. Let's be good stewards of paying attention to what they're doing. Now, personally, I've looked at some of those reports. It looks to me like you guys are doing fine. I'm a novice, but I've been in business forever. I know how to read reports and financial statements and all that. It looks to me like the numbers are about what they ought to be. Does your budget grow with population growth? Has it been growing? Are we doing better in Ada County with crime prevention, or are we doing worse? How are things progressing as you see it in Ada County?
That's a great question. So I think that our county commissioners have allocated sufficient funds to the sheriff's office over the years, and I certainly appreciate that. It has allowed us to stay current with our growing population, and I think that's my job as a sheriff, is every year I understand that the county commissioners make the decision on how much money is going to be allocated to each one of our elected offices. But it's my job to make sure that I provide them with real, accurate data. And in that area, it's, are we keeping up with our staffing and prevention as population grows? And that's always been our challenge, and my request to our county commissioners is, as that population grows and more people are coming into our awesome county, are we staffing that population growth, the additional rooftops and the additional businesses? Are we able to provide the right service to that community? And so far we've been able to do that. I want to say thank you to our county commissioners for staying connected to that and staying current with some of those discussions. And so as a result of that, over the last 3 years, we in Ada County have been able to reduce our violent crime statistics.
Nice.
And that goes to a couple of reasons. One, we've been able to staff appropriately. And two, probably more important, just like we talked about earlier in the interview, is the relationship with the community. We cannot do this job alone, and our community can't do it alone. It takes a strong, strong partnership and relationship to make sure that we're doing it together, because that's what we want, right? We want a safe place, as our mission statement says, to live, to work, and to play.
Yeah. Well, I think I can speak for most of the community. We know we can't do this alone. You'd have vigilantes and mayhem if we had to do this alone.
Mm-hmm.
We know we need you. And this whole defunding the police thing, I would think everybody listening to this video thinks that is a really bad idea. So we're behind you 100%. A lot of us are putting "We Stand With You" signs in our front yard. I just put one up 2 days ago, and it's going to stay there as long as I live there. But the point is, we're with you. We know we need you, and we appreciate having you around here. Is this a partisan position? Are you in a partisan position where your political connections make a difference? Do you conduct the department in certain ways because of any party mandates and platforms or so forth, or are you pretty much independent of party wishes?
Yeah, so I am a strong Republican.
We know that.
And I stand strong with my Republican Party, and those are my independent values and beliefs. However, my job as sheriff is to provide public safety to all Ada County residents. No matter whether you're party affiliated with the Republican Party, you're Democrat, you're independent, or you're unaffiliated with anyone. I do not get to make decisions related to party lines. I believe that would be absolutely wrong. I think that would be unethical, and I think it would go 100% against my police code of conduct. So that's what you get with me as a sheriff. My job is to deliver services to every Ada County resident, citizen, or anybody that comes to our county to recreate, to shop, to enjoy our parks and waterways. You get a sheriff in Steve Bartlett that is here for all people.
And I assume your deputies are all the same. You know, we hear all kinds of baloney about police officers and sheriffs and stuff in today's comments. Most are just ridiculous. But the experience I've had with your deputies, which has been a good experience, by the way, everybody. They're all great guys. They're all out there to serve the public. One of them gave me a ride when I ran out of gas over the other side of Star, and helped me out tremendously. And I was just walking along the road, and he sensed something's wrong. I could tell. He didn't roll up and say, "Hey, are you a Republican or a Democrat?" If you're a Democrat, forget it. If you're a Republican, forget it. They're out there to serve, obviously, and we can see it in their service. We can see it when they come to our neighborhood watch program. I went down to the sheriff's office in Eagle the other day. I wanted to tell them how they were doing. And they're all so nice. Everybody's so nice and helpful. So I think you are fulfilling your commitment with your officers as much as you are with yourself, and we appreciate that.
Well, I can tell you with 100% certainty that every one of the men and women of the Ada County Sheriff's Office feel the exact same way that I do. They are here to do a job, to protect and serve, and to make the community that we all live in a better place. I get the honor of being a part of the hiring process for every one of the men and women that come to work here at the Sheriff's Office. And more importantly than that, before we hand them an ID card or a badge, I get to sit down and have a one-on-one conversation with each of them, and I get to swear them in. Every one of our deputies, not just patrol, but we're made up of 5 bureaus that serve in a number of different areas. But every one of them raise the right hand and take an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution and laws of the state of Idaho. Those are just not words. Those are our way of life, the Ada County way. And I sit here as your sheriff, being honored to be the boss of these men and women that do phenomenal work every day.
You mentioned 5 bureaus. What are those?
So most people think of the Sheriff's Office and the forward-facing bureau as our patrol bureau,
right.
The cars and the lights if
right.
you've ever
right.
got a ticket or pulled over.
You don't want to see.
That's our patrol bureau. Our largest bureau is our jail bureau.
And you're responsible for everything that goes on in that jail, are you not?
I am.
I mean, you control the budget, the people, the whole thing.
Everything related to that. 1,224 beds. We have 1,116 beds inside of our facility, and then we have a community transition center that holds 108 beds. So total 1,224 beds. We also manage our court services bureau. So the courthouse security, a lot of our alternative sentencing programs. You see the men and women that are on the side of the road picking up trash or in some of our programs. Those are all managed by the Sheriff's Office. We manage all of misdemeanor probation in our court services bureau. A lot of people don't or are unfamiliar that we do that. We talked a little bit about it, but our dispatch center, so our emergency communications bureau, that also houses our IT and tech ops, along with our dispatch center. And so that's a big piece of what we do. A lot of people think about calling 911 and making that phone call. And then our last bureau is our Administrative Services Bureau, which manage all of our police records, our fleet. You think about all of our police cars and vans and buses and everything that it takes for us to do our job. Well, we have a fleet area that does all of that, our finance. You talk about our budget, our human resources. All of those fall under our Administrative Services Bureau and make up our professional staff that keep the rest of us all running.
So that's the 700 employees that you mentioned before, all encased in those bureaus.
That is correct. So we kind of roughly, we're very close to 800-ish. Half of that, about 400, are commissioned staff, and about 400 of them are professional staff.
Commissioned officers?
Yes.
Okay. So about half of that are people out in the neighborhoods, in the community, in the businesses. They're the faces we see.
And our jail staff.
Okay, very good. Well, this has been enlightening. I've learned a lot of stuff here today, and enjoyable. I'm glad to know there's not really any partisanship going on. I mean, your job is your job. Happen to be a Republican, that's great, but it doesn't matter who I am or who that person over there is. You're going to take care of them just like it doesn't make any difference to you.
100%.
So getting involved is what we can do to help. Keeping our eyes open, neighborhood watch programs, calling when something looks weird. What about helping the department with volunteers and that sort of thing? Is there any use for that? Is there any need for that sort of thing?
There is a huge need for that, and we love our sheriff's office volunteers.
Oh, I can imagine.
One of my favorite days that we hold is our volunteer barbecue or dinner, and we get to do that a couple of times. One, because we have kind of two segments of volunteers. We have a group of volunteers that volunteer in the community, and then we have a group of volunteers that volunteer in our jail and are involved in our religious organizations and teach classes and do church services, as in counseling and all of those type of things. But out in the community, we also have a group of volunteers that go to events and go to parades and help children read at schools and do neighborhood watches and Greenbelt Patrol, and the list goes on and on. And if you are interested in one of those positions, again, I would encourage you to go to our website. It is very extensive and has a ton of information on there, adasheriff.org, and visit our volunteer tab or visit our career tab and look through it and see how you can get involved.
Well, I think that's great. That's all the questions I have. I could probably go on and on with little detaily things, but what would you like to close with? Any message you'd like to send out to the public? Any closing comments that you think are important right now?
Well, I first of all want to say thank you to your Ronald Reagan group and apologize that COVID-19 took away our opportunity to get together in person. But I am very thankful for the role that I get to serve in this community. I do not take this role lightly. As your Ada County Sheriff, there are principles and practices that I feel incredibly strong about and want to make sure that this community, this county stays as safe as it is today into the future. And so I would encourage you to educate yourself. There is a massive election coming up on November 3rd. And it's critical in Ada County who sits in this seat. I do have a person running against me, but when I sit here and you ask me, what is it that I would like to share with our community? I think it comes back to experience